Hi everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, another juniper to repot. Welcome to Bonsai Acres. Welcome everyone inside the passive solar green frame on a mid 40-degree sunshiny day in Minnesota. Oh my gosh, another glorious day. In fact, it was so glorious, I could not resist a little Shinrin Yoku to Heritage Park just a couple of miles away. Let's check it out. After the winter we've had this year, you just can't not take a Shinrin Yoku on a Sunday afternoon as beautiful as this. The sun is out again. Temps reaching into the 40s today. So it's time to get out and stretch the legs. Just a year ago, I discovered this trail for the first time, and we had had such a low snow total for the year. It was like a fall walk, not a winter walk. This is known as the Heritage Walk, where two trails wind through the park. Along the way, 7 stories introduce Woodbury's past and connect us with today and inspire our shared future. What a great park for kids and families to explore information on the history, hopefully see some animals along the way. Pretty fantastic. Now, of course, there's tar trails, so easy access for everybody, which is awesome. But there's always some off-trail trails where you can just get off the beaten trail and do your own thing. I remember this section from last time, this big old, I believe, oak tree, dead, but beautiful. And look at it today against the dark blue February sky. Now I can never get enough pines. One of the things I'm looking forward to Bonsai Acres is planting pines for bonsai, but also letting some of them go and get up tall, and we can be in an environment like this. So peaceful and quiet within the pine boughs. Nothing more satisfying than walking through a pine grove. I just love it so much. We're gonna go off the beaten trail again and head deeper into the woods here. Instead of going left, we're gonna go right, go deep back into this part of the park. This was one of those tough winters in Minnesota where it is hard for the average person to get outside. But if you have the right equipment, you can do so much in the winter. And it's far less severe than it used to be. I'll always promote getting yourself outside. Yeah, you can't beat how relaxed you feel after being in nature. We're off the beaten trail, and now we're gonna go off the beaten trail again, just because I want to be inside this pine grove. The rows and rows of pines. Now, if you come the right time of day, you might even be able to see a deer in here. Who knows what else you might see? A fox running around, rabbits, squirrels. This is just fabulous. And again, so quiet. We got the crow giving us some company. And of course, on walks like these, you know I'm looking up an awful lot. So when you get to this part of the trail, yeah, you hit neighborhood. What's super cool about this being close to a neighborhood is that there's access for everybody, and for many of us, just down the road. This is less than 3 miles from my house. And as you can see behind me, less than a few hundred feet for some. And if we can get one more step closer to nature more often, we're all going to benefit from that. I remember this tree from the walk last time too. Look at that middle trunk trying to be a big branch. Yeah, it's dead, didn't make it. Such inspiration from the trees in nature. Well, that's gonna wrap up another Shinrin Yoku. A park just a few miles from my home, easy to get to, beautiful trails. You can go off trail, and those pine boughs, the pine grove. I love that. Now perhaps it's time to repot another tree. We'll catch you soon. What a spectacular day. In fact, I went on 2 walks. After that walk, came back, the kids had a friend spend the night, and after lunch, we all went for another hike over at that lake park that I've highlighted on the channel, and we went and had some fun on a glorious Sunday afternoon. But the trees are waking up slowly but surely. Boy, the junipers, the color on the junipers are phenomenal. They are getting rid of that kind of rusty looking, kind of dead looking color in the winter, and they're greening up. And so we're gonna go ahead and tackle another one. And this one is a fun one, everybody. We're gonna go and look at Candice's juniper. It's only about 3 years old. We're gonna go ahead and take a peek at that one. We have to do one thing before we repot this one. Here we go. It is Cascade Juniper from Candice. I've had this in my possession now for 2 growing seasons, a little more than 1.5, maybe close to 2 growing seasons. And last year we wired this tree, and the wire is starting to cut in. So before we get started on this tree, we have to get the wire out of there. So we're gonna do that first. But before I even do that, a big shout out to Grandpa Nigel. Yeah, did you hear that right? Have you seen Nigel Saunders' little chit chat that he had recently? Nigel, a big congratulations. So happy for you. He is a grandfather, grandpa, gramps. Yeah, it's Nigel in the bonsai zone as a grandpa. Congratulations to that. Just wanted to send those well wishes to you and your family, your daughter and the baby. Congratulations. So before we can repot, we're going to take the wire off. Before I can do that, I need my wire cutters. Let's get that and get this thing started. So when you get into bonsai, besides just a nice pair of shears and a concave cutter, loving my shears, loving the concave cutters. The next tool, if you don't have one, if you start to wire, if you wire on trees and you're worried about damaging trees by uncoiling the wire, especially when you use copper wire, because it doesn't unbend very easily, unlike aluminum, you need a really good pair of the blunt force wire cutters. Just blunt at the tip, and there's a lot of force up there, and you can go ahead and undo all the wire. So first off on the tree though, I'm going to see if I can take off the wire as it is without me using the pliers. And it's going to be really stiff and rigid. And of course the trick with this is not breaking the branch when you put it on, just like you don't want to break the branch when you put it off or on, right? And so we're kind of going to coil this around the branch, see where it goes, and hope that the bends we put on last time are going to stay true to this tree. I love all this back budding right here by my fingers back here. That's going to be the future branch of this tree if this current branch does not stick around. All right, and it comes over one more time at the top here. So we need to be careful, and we need to get the wire off of the tree so we're not going to have wire cutting in. Now with pine trees and junipers in particular, we don't usually worry too much about the wire scars because the tree is going to grow up and it's going to have some gnarly looks to it, and it's pretty common. Now you see how that's moving that branch right there? That was the anchor for this right here. This is going to get really dangerous if I don't be careful and put this hand on the branch and hand on the wire. And then the gnarliness of these trees lends us to be able to not worry so much about a few little scar marks, because over time we're going to get some really nice pine scar marks on here anyway. So this one's getting a little bit tricky here and a little bit sensitive. So this is where I can come in now with my little pliers here, cut that off. That breaks this free right over here. And then I can go ahead and cut it again right there. Super nice right there. Take that little piece off. And then this last piece only has one more coil on it. So let's get in here one more time, cut that off, and that piece come off, and we are good to go. So get yourself a good pair of these cutters and you'll be in good shape. I'm gonna get the wire off of this tree carefully, again using two hands, one for the branch, one for the wire, uncoil it, and then we will come back and join the repotting in just a few moments. This is one of those steps where we have to take our time. We can't go too fast to break the branches on these trees. After all that work to put it on there and stress the tree out, all the wires are off the bottom two branches, and so now we're just going to keep moving up the tree. And we're going to get all of this taken care of before we repot this tree today. Aluminum wire you can certainly unravel a lot easier. This is copper wire, and once it holds its position, that's why it's so nice, especially on pine trees that are so flopsy-mopsy with their branches. This wire is going to hold true for a long, long time, and it bends into place, and you got to put it where you want it with confidence, and once it's there, then you are in good shape. There we have Candice's Juniper, the cascading Juniper. It is all taken care of with the wire, top to bottom, if I missed any pieces. And there are some wire scars in here, but that'll give this thing so much character in the end that I'm not too worried about it. We've got some things we can trim, but I'm not concerned about that at all right now. We have to get it out of this pot here, and we're going to see how we can repot this really amazing pottery and the plant that's in it and make it look like it's ready for its next journey. Now, one of the challenges of having a Cascade is it doesn't fit on flat ground, and so you always have to have props around so you can be ready to prop it up and not hurt the branches. You don't want to wreck your tree, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just get started here on the edges of this homemade pot, and we're going to flip this thing upside down a couple of times, and we're going to see if we can get this thing out of this pot. So part of this repot, this branch here, the main branch, is touching the pot now, which is nice that it nice and dips right there. But we want to try to keep that from touching the tree as much as possible. We're going to see if we can reposition that thing in a little bit more favorable position. Here we go, upside down for the first time. And there it comes out of there. There we go. Look at that. And there's her pot with the holes in there. All right. That is pretty exciting. Okay, so we got the tree out. Now we're going to have to continue on our journey to see where the roots are in this thing. Way down to the bottom of this really deep pot. Got the drainage screen there. And now we go and check out all the roots. I'm not sure if people could tell when I first started digging into the pot right there, but the thing that was making it difficult to water this tree, I've talked about the times when we repot. One of them is when the soil does not allow your water to percolate. But there is a layer of dirt on top here. Look at that. There's a layer of about an inch or so of dirt or mud, whatever she used to keep these roots maybe viable up top. I'm not sure why she put dirt on top. That could have kept things moist on top. But you know, you want, of course, have your soil get watered all the way down to the bottom of all those feeder roots. And look at how long these feeder roots are. My worry towards this spring and at the end of last fall was that this tree was not getting as much water as it needed. Now it's survived, everything's been fine. I don't see any damage at the moment. The roots haven't completely woken up yet, so that's nice. It's a good time of year. We've got the energy stored in this tree, and we are going to trim some roots, put it back in the pot with some fresh soil, and make this top section a lot more ready to receive water. As I'm trying to get through some of the dirt on the top of this root structure, it's really thick. So I'm trying to, not damage the roots, trying to salvage as many as possible. But I have a bucket of water right now, trying to rinse some of these roots off and loosen up the soil right at the top here. so we can get a chopstick to poke through here. There's some real solid sections. I think there's some big roots in here that we might be able to cut back a little bit more. So this is, again, another reason why we repot, and we have to work on the roots every time we repot. If I just stuck this back into a pot right here, right now, without doing anything else, I helped it a little bit by getting some more dirt out of here, but I didn't help it for the future long term in trying to get these roots as untangled as possible and as a nice 360-degree flare as possible. So going to go ahead and just keep watering this tree down, the root system up on top here, and see if I can get at some of these roots. And now the other thing, of course, I have to start doing is I have to take my scissors and see if there's a couple of roots in here that I can consider starting to take off to make the process a little bit easier, a little bit less stuff to meander through, and trying to cut off maybe some areas that look tangled. And if I know I don't need the root, maybe that'll lead to some more opening of some of this muddy section in here at the top. Very thick structure right here. I cannot poke this chopstick through in the least. So I'm hoping this water is going to loosen it up. And again, let's get in here now and start doing a little bit of cutting, I think. So why don't we go ahead and grab the scissors and let's get rid of some of these roots. Now our tree is going to go into a cascading style again. So we would like more roots over here and less close to here so we have more room. We want more room between the branch and the roots here. So I'll cut some of those off too. But we're going to go ahead and we're just going to give this a straightaway haircut from here down below, because we don't need all that roots quite that far down. There we go. And now if I can get a sneak peek in here at what's going on, super thick in here. I want to get rid of some of these roots on this side that's closest to the, here we go, closest to the pot, where it's going to lay by the pot right here. So we continue to tell this tree to grow a certain way by how we're going to put it in the pot. So we're going to take away some of the roots from this side and let it hug the ground from the other side with all those roots. So there we just took a little bit of root structure out right there. Let's get it in the water again. There's a couple of big roots up here that I think I'm just going to cut off here. There we go. And they're probably tangled in so deep in there. Here's a root that's kind of growing up. I don't know where that starts. Getting in there and trying to revamp this root system just a little bit. Now there's one big root in here that I can feel already that is just massively big, and I think we have to get that on the outs here. We got to get rid of that guy. Let's see how deep we can go with this guy right here. All right. Yeah. That one is about a 1/2 inch thick, and we just made that pop up a little bit higher. Yeah, so a really thick root structure down here. There's still more of it down here, so I got to see if I can whittle it away. Oh yeah, look at all that. So I'm kind of going blindly in the dark there, but we see we have some exposed roots now, some of the thicker parts that we're going to take down and hope that that continues to flare out in the future. And I just bring my scissors in here and we want to flatten out this bottom right here. This is almost like it's acting like it was the taproot. We're cutting that way back. I want to be careful. I don't want to cut too many more roots off now. I just want to make sure that this is going to survive this repot. At this time, I want to bring the pot back in to see how this is going to sit in here. So it was sitting in this crevice right here, this downward crevice there. And I'm wondering if that would be more of a fun thing to see as far as the pot design. No, this shows off more of the tree better, I think, if we keep it that way. So we want to put this right over to the edge of the pot this time. Right here, the roots hugged right there. So this thing is growing over the edge of this pot. Now we can mound the dirt a little bit on this one, but you can see this is not in the pot very much. So that's a lot of soil at the bottom. We get bigs on the bottom. And then we're going to probably have to wire this guy in the holes that they provided for sure. This will need some wire. Otherwise, I'm afraid it's just going to fall right over, especially it being a cascade. A couple more roots at the surface there that we can kind of monkey with. I don't want to cut any more off, though. I think this is going to be where it's at. The next time we repot this, we'll be able to get in there a little bit more. But we have certainly some nice finer roots here and a nice spread, a nice flare here. But we want to get this thing kind of mounted this way right here. I wonder if we can put it over here this time. I like this right there. Or can we put it maybe, yeah, maybe we can put it this way. Right there. With the riggedy pot here, and this is lower on this side, we can put that right there and bury that soil up to the tippy top. But again, with a lot of fine soil, so it'll keep it moist longer, but we're not going to be as close to the pot this time. All right, let's do that. I think we're at a point where we're going to put this thing in the pot. This is super exciting. I've got some bigs on the bottom. I've got two sets of wires on here. We're going to go ahead and we're going to put this guy into place. Here we go. So I need some medium soil there to fill it on up. It's one of those repots where there's more soil than roots for sure at this stage. All right, so we can smush that into the soil. Shove some more in there. And let's look at the pot here. Looking nice. I think that angle is still good. I can kind of maybe twist it a little bit this way. How about that over there? There we go. Got an old piece of tree right there. We don't want that. Okay. Let me get some more soil in there. All right, take a peek at it again. No wires on here yet. So here's our first wire, and this is pretty much in the corner. So I think I'm going to go kitty corner to kitty corner for the wire job. Now I'd like to go underneath that root if I could, because I don't want to damage the root. So let's poke it through the root here if we can. It's pretty thick down in here. I don't know what's pokeable. So that wire coming over to this wire, these roots back here, I'm going to go over. I'm not going to worry about those roots too much right now. And we'll get this taut right here. With a couple of bread bag twisty tie things. And let's go ahead and see if we can cut off the extra. My pliers is a little bit rusty here. Okay, so is that in the spot I want it? I think it looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and give these a couple of twists. Now I don't wire a lot of my trees in anymore, especially my tropicals, but a tree like this, with little roots to support all of that weight. I mean, there's plenty of roots in here. That's pretty solid. I'm going to tuck that in right there. There's the first one right there. Now I went under this root right here, so that was pretty important that I did that. And then this other guy is going to come over the back side right over here through the roots we don't see, and we're going to put that right here, and we're going to twist that a couple of times and cut that extra off, and then we are almost done. Now that really crunched it down to the soil there. We tuck that away. And now, a lot of people will say that junipers don't like wet feet. Pines in general don't like wet feet. I probably have watered my junipers a little bit more than some of my pines. But we got some real bigs on the bottom half. And then I have medium. And then we have the tree. And I'm putting some medium on top here. And that's really tight, because remember, this was a real tight cluster of roots anyway, so I can't really get too many rocks down in there. We can shove a couple down here on the backside. And remember, this was dirt before, not the soil here. So I'm going to feel much better about watering this tree and making sure that we're going to get water all the way down to the roots, and it's going to go right through the pot, through the drainage hole down there. And this is looking pretty nice. So as we stand back and take a look, we have a very solid tree in there. It is not moving anywhere. Very solid. It's not touching the pot at all now. We have about a ½ inch clearance there, and we have our cascading tree. So if I bring this back over here more on these pieces of wood, we can see it more on the edge. And there we have our beautiful cascade tree. We may get rid of this branch altogether at some point. It's a lovely branch, Dave. Why would you do that? But then you can see the cascade better. We've got this bottom branch and this branch that are kind of competing with each other. So who knows where this will go. I might make a few prunes on this thing here before the spring push. I'm going to just kind of let it heal. I did a lot of work with this root structure. We lost all those fine feeder roots down below, but there's a really thick mass of roots up top. I think we're going to be just fine, but I'm not going to prune it today. I'm just going to keep it here in the PSGF, which again was around 70 today, and we're going to keep this thing going strong. So there is Candice's juniper spinning around. Barely can spin around here. There we go. So there is the juniper. Fun. This is great. So loving this spring weather. It's here now. We're still on the 23rd of February, but boy, we're excited. Another juniper that's turned really green. It's ready to push. It'll be fine here in the PSGF. So take care of you. Take care of your bonsai. And you know we're going to catch you soon with another repot. Welcome to Bonsai Acres.